Good evening, Rockdale County. Welcome to This Week from Rockdale with your host, Larry Cox. And we already have some folks joining us in the chat saying hi today. We have Danielle Munoz. Hello, Danielle. Charlotte Gellert, Mary Boysworth, Marie Withers. Dan Burks is in the house. Guys, welcome to the show tonight. We're going to talk about a few things tonight, and I'm not going to stay on long tonight. It's going to be one of my short 30-minute shows. Oh, I say that now, but I could get on a roll and get on a tear, and it'd be uh, crazy. Who knows? I mean, I'm really unpredictable. I'm a loose cannon sometimes. So I just thank you guys for actually tolerating me on the show. And then Bill Campbell, you've joined us tonight. Thanks, Bill, for joining us tonight. Just want to thank everybody that does join us on a regular basis. And I know a lot of people really enjoy this week from Rockdale. So let me get into something tonight. Last week I talked about the SPLOS, and I just want to do a little bit of follow up on the SPLOS. I had some folks reach out to me this week, and there had been an email shared with some SPLOS members from a county source, and the source and that I've got from the email is we showed those numbers last week, and it just showed in general, and there were uh, no specific things that the money was going to be spent on. It was just in general, that the police, the sheriff's department was going to get X number of dollars, fire department X number of dollars. But what I was told was that there was an email memo sent out that said that the specific projects will not be determined until the next SPLOS committee is picked. You guys might want to find that interesting to know that that's not going to be until after the election that we vote on whether we're going to approve the SPLOST or not. So what that means, folks, is they are literally asking you to vote for a blank check. They're literally asking you to vote for a blank check. This would be the amount that we're going to spend. Don't quite know what we're going to spend it on yet. There's some projects that have been proposed, and those may not even be the projects at the end of the day that the county decides to fund with the SPLOS if the SPLOS is passed. Like I told you folks last week, I intend to work with a group of Rockdale County citizens to oppose and defeat this very badly planned and irresponsible SPLOST. The fact that we find out now that this SPLOST that they're proposing is truly a blank check SPLOST, an open checkbook SPLOST, that they don't even really have any particular projects in mind yet, and that the next committee that is assembled will be the ones to decide how to spend the money that will already be passed. In the past, there have been projects that's proposed, and that's what the folks have voted on. They're just so disrespectful of us as the taxpayers and the folks who actually put this money forth. At the end of the day, they don't care or respect us one bit. And this is pathetic. And as taxpayers, we need to show that we're not going to tolerate this kind of stuff any longer. And that as citizens, we're going to defeat this kind of rhetoric. Good evening, Efat Walker. Nice to have you on the show tonight. Efat was just mentioning on the show here that I just got some information this week that the county is not even going to determine what they're going to spend the specifics of the SPLOST on until after they set a new committee after we vote on the SPLOST this coming May. And I had mentioned we are, myself and a group of citizens are going to oppose this SPLOST as proposed. It is not a good idea. It is a bad way to actually come across with these spending ideas. There are no spending ideas. It's a blank check. And the citizens of Rockdale County, we've got to stand up and say, no blank check, not happening. There are several important things that this county say that were priorities, such as a courthouse and also infrastructure needs. And none of those needs are even addressed in the budgetary, in the wide range budget proposal of the upcoming SPLOST. So that's, what I wanted to discuss about the SPLOST. And then I want to talk about another interesting issue. I don't know if you guys have heard or not, but the Rockdale County Board of Education, led by the fantastic man who gets a raise when schools aren't even in class, does such a job as a phantom school superintendent, Terry Oates. This character is going to propose that we start a police department that will be run by the Rockdale County Board of Education and Terry Oates. I'm just going to ask in the chat, how many of you guys in the chat think that it would be a good idea for the Rockdale County Board of Education to start a police agency that they're in charge of to oversee security at the schools? How many of you guys think that's a good idea? I'm going to tell you right now, my idea, oh, hell no. I didn't say just no. I said, oh, hell no. And when you add an oh, hell no to something, that is like putting some emphasis on it. Like, that is a really bad idea. And Mary pauses with no explanation point. Man, come on. Can anybody join me with an oh, hell no? Michelle McGee, the oh, hell no. That's right. Charlotte Geller, the no. Dan Burks, the no. It is clear that the folks in this chat see this idea the same way that I do. Bad idea. You got the wrong people. And we got EFAT Walker says, oh, hell no, too. EFAT, thank you for that. I appreciate that, EFAT. And it should be an oh, hell no. Because, these guys have not even, they've not even been able to run the budget that they have and be, I think, transparent with it. They have the Board of Education has a SPLOST. They don't even have a SPLOST committee. They internally oversee that SPLOST. And guys, we have no idea what they do with that SPLOST money. None whatsoever. We have no idea what the Board of Education does with the SPLOST. I would assume that if they start their police department, they would use the SPLOST money. But that would just be me assuming and thinking that's what they would do. But no, you know what? They can raise our millage rate up to 30 because they, passed that under the cover of darkness thing at Christmas time years ago. So, guys, they'll keep this eSPLOST money for whatever nonsense they're doing with it, and they'll just raise our millage rate to whatever they think they need to run this police department that this Board of Education is going to start. Now, guys, I'm just telling you, that is, oh, hell no, guys. We need to say that enough is enough. I told you guys the other day, Clayton don't know what the sheriff's department thinks about it. They probably wouldn't care because, they already get funding for that. They're not going to give the funding back. They're going to keep the monies. And then EFAT Walker, I agree with you. That sounds like a recipe for an even bigger school to prisons pipeline. Absolutely not. I agree with that 100%, EFAT. Director Oates was discussing, I think this week, there was an email sent, and he bragged about the RCA, our RCA school. And, that's actually a charter school. I mean, that's actually got its own separate board other than the BOE and such. So the school that's doing the best in our county is actually something that actually has its own separate board. So, I mean, we need to think about that, guys. I mean, and I mentioned this on the show last week, that we need to look at who we want to run for Board of Education in this coming year. That we need some some individuals to run and replace the two people. One person's going to be an open seat, and I know we have another person that's been in there, and they've just been in their term, but very little voice. I think it's time that we, let's toss them seats around. Let's put some people in there that are going to have a loud voice. What does Alex say? It will grow each year, cost more each year, even more county employees and unfunded liabilities. 100%, Alex, and that's the thing we have to be afraid of. With the Rockdale County Board of Education, that, like I said this last week, I believe that I don't think that any of these entities have met a dollar they didn't want to spend. None of them have found a dollar that they didn't want to spend. So if those dollars are available, they will be spending those dollars, and they'll never give them back. And I don't think that they will use eSplost. I think they will just raise the millage rate, because that's how they operate. And I'm just telling you guys to stop this kind of nonsense. We need folks to step up and run for these Board of Education seats. And that's you, folks. That's the citizens of Rockdale County. We need you guys to step up and run for these seats. Because without people like you stepping up and running for these seats, then we're stuck with the same old people. I've even heard rumor that they're going to recycle somebody who had ran before and had the seat before. They're going to recycle them again, throw them out there. Guys, we don't need recycled individuals. We need new ideas, new people. That's what we need. I mean, just take, for example, we've got Governor Kemp came out with his agenda this week. And it sounds like everything he ran on 4 years ago, he's actually going to try to do this legislative session: constitutional carry, education reform. And it's amazing that it comes to an election year where he's very unpopular. People don't like him. And now he's going to actually do these kind of things. So I'm cautious of all these elected officials at this time who just throw things out there when it's ridiculous. Let's see what Alex says. What are they going to want? Patrolmen, sergeants, lieutenants, captains, majors, deputy chiefs of all. Yeah, Alex, I agree. They're going to want to have a structured department, and it'll just be out of control. Let's see, Tommy Lee. I understand that the BOE wants to form its own safety department because the sheriff's office can't keep the students safe because of staffing problems. And I'm going to tell you, I've actually had some teachers reach out to me privately, and they don't want me to mention their names because they'll be afraid to lose their jobs. The teachers that have reached out to me are very concerned that this administration and Board of Education would be running a police department that would service the school. Tommy, I understand maybe the sheriff isn't doing that hot of a job of it, but do we really want to turn that from the frying pan into the fire? I just, as much as, I don't think that the sheriff's department is that great of a department. I don't think that we need to be turning that over to the Board of Education to do. Those staffing problems will hit those staffing. Alex, you're right. Staffing problems are going to hit any agency and it's hit every walk of life right now. Staffing problems are. Just you guys out there that are in any kind of industry, any kind of job market. Come on, guys. Who of you out there are not facing staffing problems? I in my industry, we face staffing problems on a consistent basis. It's very difficult to hire people who actually want to work and are qualified to work. Can you imagine the difficulties that they're going to have in staffing this and the monies? Guys, we're not talking about a little bit of money. We're probably talking millions and millions of dollars that this new entity would be. Millions and millions of dollars is what we're talking about. We're not talking about a little bit of money here. what's Chris Lowry, and the schools don't want their little miscreants getting counted in the Chris, you're out of control. Demographic statistics. So, I mean, and that's what we've got to be concerned about. I mean, we have to really be concerned of what this department would do, how they would handle things. I mean, they're pretty secretive right now about what goes on. Could you imagine how secretive the Board of Education would be when they had their when they would have their when not an if this is going to be when, guys. They're going to do this. They are going to have their own police agency. But can you imagine how secretive they're going to be when they've got their own agency? Uh, was it? I can only imagine Rockdale School's crime ranking. Yeah, Alex, I agree. But I mean, but can't we imagine how secretive that they're going to be about everything, and it's going to be hard to get actual details of anything that goes on. It's going to be interesting, guys, because a lot of this stuff, remember, executive meeting, they'll be discussing all this nonsense in executive meeting so that they can hide it from you and I, and we'll never know what's going on. That is just crazy. Uh, I just think that we need to stand up, and this is the way, guys. Whether it's to elect different people, we can start this May by electing two new people to the school board who will stand up to the rest of the board and to the superintendent. That's the way we can start this. I mean, if you guys are serious out there in the chat, you're serious out there in Rockdale County, hey, let's share the show, guys. Let's start that way. Let's share the show and let people know this is what's going on. These are the kind of things that we're fighting here in Rockdale County. Let's let other people know that we're serious about taking our county back. We're serious about electing people who are not just going to go along to get along. And the go along to get along thing has just went on for entirely too long in Rockdale County. We need to stop it. Wasn't Mary says just what we need? One incompetent department running another, and I agree with that. Uh, uh, Alex says, "Oh yeah, it's Loudoun County a cover up over again." And Alex and are you referring to the young man in Loudoun County that was found in the bleachers dead? Uh, 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 is that the story you're referring to down in Loudoun County? That was a tragedy a few years ago. Young man found in the bleachers, folded up in there, deceased, and they had all these closed door executive meetings, and they just nothing would be able to do, and that's just pitiful. And what these guys plan on doing is throwing tons of money at it and keeping everything a secret. We don't need that, guys. We don't need that in Rockdale County. We need transparency in Rockdale County, and we need the sunshine to shine in Rockdale County. And a way for that to happen, guys, is for us to elect new people to office, and that's across the board. And it's going to be interesting, in my opinion, this election cycle when we've got post two elections coming up, and it depends on what happens with the legislature. What goes on here in Georgia. I mean, the legislature, we could end up with some additional commissioners here in Rockdale County. We could end up with an additional or a different form of government. Uh, do we know, Megan? We do not know any candidates that are officially planning on running for Board of Education. I'm assuming the person who already holds the seat plans on running for re-election, but would really love to see. I mean, if somebody wants to run, reach out. I'll talk to you about it. Help give you some guidance on what to do. We really, Alex is talking about the bathroom rape cape in Virginia. Okay, yeah, they had those secret meetings. Yeah, and like I said, but we also had a death down in Lowndes County. That's my bad. Lowndes County down in Valdosta, and a young man was found in the bleachers a few years ago, and that was all secretive, and they had some of their executive meetings discussing that and not releasing information. I mean, so that stuff already is going on, guys, and we need to nix that. But yeah, that I know what that is the rape case. In Virginia. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, isn't that the case where in North Carolina where the girls were assaulted, that they made the girls go to sensitivity counseling? Uh, the assaultant, the person that did the assaulting, sort of got off scot free because the police said they didn't believe the story. And I think this one was in North Carolina, and they made the two girls in North Carolina actually go to sensitivity training regarding their assaults because the school board said they didn't believe the girls, even though the police had investigated and actually had charged a young man for the assaults. The Board of Education did not believe the girls and made them take some sensitivity training before they could even go back to class. Sure happened. Happened. You can't make that kind of stuff up, guys. Happens every day in America. Uh, so, Tommy Lee, cover-ups happen in law enforcement everywhere, including our very own sheriff's office. Yes, Tommy Lee, that's actually true. I mean, we know of several things that have happened here in the county that leak out through sources, and the sheriff's office would never have uh, released that information if the information hadn't been leaked through alternative sources. So, guys, we've got a lot of stuff to look at. We've got a lot of things to do, uh, and it's going to take folks like you. It's going to take both folks like me. Uh, uh, Alex says, I wonder what happened to the other deputies that were in the car with the open containers. Waiting to hear some information back about that, Al. I know they were suspended. Don't know if they've lost their jobs yet or if they've had any more hearings. I'll reach out to some of my contacts and see if we can't get an update on that story, because I'm sure they will be more than willing to give an update and let us know the fate of those individuals and that specialized unit that went out drinking and driving. A specialized unit that was responsible for targeting drunk drivers and aggressive drivers. And they go out and do 130 miles an hour in Atlanta and intoxicated. So, I mean, I think they're just practicing. Uh, Susan actually says two were fired. So that's what we have. Two were fired. So I'm assuming the young man who was the driver and then one of the others. So maybe one of them got off. I'm still going to reach out to my sources, and one being Holmes. Yes. So I'm going to still reach out to my sources and verify all that stuff, and we'll do a follow up on that here in the next little bit. Thanks, Susan, for the information. No charges then. No, I don't think any charges were on the other two, Al. They were just some administrative issues with the other two guys. Just the Holmes officer was charged with something. So, guys, I think what we need to do is we need to investigate, look hard. Well, Lisa, not really on segments. Any updates on the gentleman who was? No, there's no updates on the gentleman at the curb, and I didn't figure there would be on that, Lisa, because I figured that they would go quiet on that because that's going to be, a lawsuit and such, and I think I think that'll be stealth. I don't think we'll know anything about that at all unless there's a settlement. And then I don't think we'll even know what happens with the settlement. They'll probably release something that there was a settlement, and that part of the settlement agreement was that they won't be a disclosure on what the settlement was. But I do got a feeling that the guy who was dumped on the curb, there were tons of lawyers lined up to represent him. So he's got one call, that's all. So I'm sure one of those guys, they hooked him up, and he's going to be uh, sitting pretty with a few dollars in his pocket. Uh, that's the luxury of cronyism. Okay, I got you, guys. I'm just telling you, we don't have to tolerate this. We really don't. We have a voice. We have a say. We have a vote. Uh, so I think that's what we need to focus on here in the next little bit. We need to focus on what our thought process and what we're going to do. Hey, going to also let you guys know this coming Saturday at the Iron Skillet, we are going to have on the 15th, we are going to have Candace Taylor and Dr. John Barge. Candace Taylor is running for governor, and Dr. John Barge is the former state school superintendent who is actually running for state school superintendent again. So he is going to be at the Republican Party breakfast. Those tickets should, if they're not available, they will be going start being available for sale starting tomorrow through the rest of the week. So what I encourage each of you guys to do is go to the Republican Party website and purchase tickets and for the nice, good, delicious breakfast. But also come, let's hear Candace Taylor and I especially want to hear Dr. John Barge talk, because I do want to talk to Dr. Barge about some of these educational things. I'm going to ask him what his thought process is. Does he think it's a good idea for these county school to start their own police agencies? Because he would be the guy. He's running to replace Woods, who is the school superintendent now, and Barge was the former school superintendent, and he a state school superintendent. He resigned to run for governor in 2014, and that's when Richard Woods sprung into the picture. But like I said, I think it's really interesting. We have got this guy coming, so I'd like to ask him some questions, see what's going on, and like I said, I'd like you guys to come out to the breakfast. Buy a ticket, go to the Republican Party website, and let's talk education with Richard Woods, and then also with Candace Taylor. Candace Taylor, she's one of her main issues is education. Dan Burks, there are other counties with police departments, I believe. But I'm just don't know if it's a good idea in Rockdale County. It really concerns me. Dr. Barge is a doctor of education, Alex. So that's what he's a doctor of. He's a doctor of education. So I would like, I want to see the good doctor and what he brings to the table as far as education. Guys, I'll tell you what. I'm going to keep the show short tonight because I have a busy travel week this week, and actually the following week too. But next Sunday, I'm going to have a guest on the show. I am going to have Colonel Mitchell Swan on the show next week, and he is running for Congress. He's running for Congress in the 10th Congressional District. The 10th Congressional District is in parts of Walton, Newton, and Henry County. It circles us. So, but Colonel Swan, I got a chance to listen to him speak in Henry County this past week. I was very impressed with the Colonel. So I want to, I invited him to come on. He, very interesting guy. I think you're going to enjoy the Colonel. I'll see if I can't get a special guest host to come on and help me with the interview. And I'm going to thank each and every one of you for tuning in tonight. Been a lively show, been a lively chat, and I thank everybody for joining me on This Week from Rockdale. I will see you guys next week when I bring Colonel Mitchell Swan on the show running for Congress. Thanks, guys. See you next week.